Good evening. Welcome to the Alpha Shift. Oh my God. Alpha Shift.
Alpha Shift.
Alpha Shift.
Are we renaming it?
Yeah, no, it's the Alpha AAALPHA Shift.
We have a sponsor,
Shift.
Alpo Dog Food. Alpo Shift.
Dog Food Shift. Let me try it again. Good evening. This is Dave Kruger. Welcome to the Alpha Shift podcast, episode 12. This is our first episode of 2020. I'm Dave Kruger. I'm here with Don Kovaleski. Good evening, Don.
Hey, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Great
Glad
to see
be
you.
here.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to all of the audience. Hope you guys are enjoying. We have got a lot to talk about tonight. We would like to do a year, in fact, a decade in review, and then look forward to our destiny and to the great things coming. We're going to look back and look at the score, look at some things that have happened, look at some of the things that have been on our mind and troubled us, and then we're going to move forward and look at what we can do to create the lives that we want. And to begin this wonderful episode, we're going to review the new Star Wars movie.
I think that's a fair place to start.
A fair place to start. Something very important in the cultural zeitgeist. Something that is on everyone's mind. So, Don, I'm going to ask you, what did you think?
All right. Well, my movie grading scale goes from fucking awesome to awesome.
Okay.
Very good, pretty good. I'm going to give the movie itself, after one viewing, a pretty good.
A pretty good, okay.
And I'm not ready to say it's terrible, pan it, anything, but I didn't have expectations.
Okay.
I didn't really know what I wanted. There were just a couple things that bothered me.
Okay.
And some of the Easter eggs.
Sure.
Like, can we say the appearance of Han Solo?
Okay, now that bothered you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I didn't want to see him again. He was
Okay.
It was okay.
Okay.
But for the most part, I thought Rey was badass. The lightsaber fighting was some of the best I've ever seen, which is all we've ever wanted, which we never got with the original trilogy. They just kind of stood around and...
Yeah, it was the best they could do at the time.
Yeah,
considering practical effects and
Yeah, so I say it was pretty good,
right.
But I'm going to have to see it 3, 4, 5 more times because I might have said very good to The Force Awakens when I first saw it.
Okay.
And I saw it, I watched it again to kind of review right before I went and saw Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
And it was far better than I thought it was. I was just in love with it. So
Okay.
when I go back and see this and I start to really take a look at the background and the ships and all the little Easter eggs, and I am not a super fan like you.
I'm a super fan.
I'm
pretty intense.
You are a super fan.
Intense.
You know all the background. I see the movies, and that's
Yeah.
pretty much what I do. I watch my son play the Lego video games, which I think are just stellar.
I've heard they're great.
They're hilarious. They're hilarious.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, I as a super fan, I've had quite an emotional journey through the years with Star Wars films. I enjoyed the prequels when they came out. I was one of the people who enjoyed them and didn't bitch and whine and moan about them. Force Awakens, loved it when it came out. It was like, my Star Wars is back. Last Jedi, while it was a well-crafted film, I disagreed with some of the choices that Rian Johnson made, particularly with Luke Skywalker.
Okay.
I really felt that Luke's, I'm one of those middle-aged white dudes who feels that Luke Skywalker would never punk out and that he was a bastion of like hope and blah, 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 and that's okay, that's fine. But, enough people were annoyed that it got Disney alarmed, and there was some drop-off between week 1 and week 2 and Last Jedi, and then, of course, they all punished Solo, which was a pretty good movie, should not have failed at the box office.
No.
And, I think everybody was just butthurt. And so we come to this one coming out. And I was hopeful, but in a way ambivalent. And so I went and saw it. And I've seen it 3 times. And the first time I go into a state of what I call Star Wars shock. Whenever a new movie comes out, It's like, I don't know what to think. I'm like overwhelmed. But then, but of course I was seeing it with this group of friends, that group of friends. So the next night I went and saw it again. And it started integrating into my system. I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. Yeah. All right, I'm liking it. And, it wasn't the most perfect film in terms of the story structure and maybe choices they could have made, but it made me feel good. It was like the love was there.
Yeah.
I felt like the love was there for the audience, the love was there for the characters, and so it was all good for me.
Right.
And yes, I really I enjoyed the nostalgia. I enjoyed revisiting the Death Star and finding the Sith Wayfinders in the Emperor's old decrepit throne room. And I just feel like I got my dork bone going.
It's like the dork part of me. I didn't like when they just happened to be in the quicksand that happened to put them right where they needed to be in the tunnels. And like, couldn't they have just found the tunnels some other way? Like little nitpicky things like that. But I loved that wasn't Carrie Fisher, but there was Carrie Fisher throughout the movie.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, they did.
I got to stare at that. I have to see it again just to stare at that.
I was nervous that wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
But it worked fantastic what they did with her story. I loved that. Okay, spoiler alert, if you shouldn't be listening if you haven't seen the movie by now, but it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
And like the way that she like
skip ahead to the 8-minute mark of the podcast.
She like reaches out to her son and like, brings him back from the darkness, but it costs her life.
Yeah.
That was like that was awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That was like perfectly done.
And in old movie making, they would have had to just rewrite the whole script. They couldn't have Carrie Fisher there because Carrie Fisher was gone.
Right.
But she was there. Absolutely amazing. I love that.
Yeah.
I always love the ships and the special effects just get better and better.
They get better and better. And you know what? There's really no point to be hating and whining. It's like I know that there's a lot of fandom menace going on. Although I will say that for Rise of Skywalker, here's some hope. With the last Jedi. If you look at Rotten Tomatoes, The Last Jedi had a 91% critics rating and a 43% fan rating. And, the fan rating's more important. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't care what a bunch of, high-minded, snooty critics think. I care what the regular, with the 500 critics on Rotten Tomatoes think. I care what the 200,000, fans who had to go pay $15 for a ticket think.
Right.
And so that was Last Jedi. This one, Rise of Skywalker, is the opposite. It's got a 55% critic rating and an 86% fan rating.
Right.
And it's like the inverse. And there's like this conspiracy theory going around that Rotten Tomatoes topped it out. They won't let the fan rating go any higher, but it should. And I don't know.
Oh man, that is some conspiracy theories.
But it is at 86%. So it's like double The Last Jedi. So people are like, they feel good. They feel loved. They feel like they got the movie they wanted. I think.
But and this can kind of tie into what we're going to go into with the year in review and planning ahead. It's like, what were your expectations? Like, what did you want it to be Shawshank Redemption? And if you really look back at the previous 8, were any of them Shawshank Redemption?
Of course not.
Or were they just fun and music? And speaking of music,
I like fun and music.
John Williams. If there's the best thing. It goes without saying, but the John Williams, the new. The additions he made to the soundtrack and the symphonic soundtrack of it were just amazing. And if you go back to the episode 1, 2, and 3 with the incredible, and he did it again with this movie. Yeah. So I love that. I can't wait to get the score on CD.
And before we move on, there's one important lesson I want to talk about in these movies. Don, you put a note in the show notes. Is there a lesson for men in these movies? And in the sequel trilogy, and I was talking about this, I was having dinner this evening with my brother and with my mom. She made dinner, and Brian has this like server with this Plex app at his home, and so we can like watch movies like on our Apple TV from his house. And of course, he got this bootleg copy of Rise of Skywalker. And we're like,
awesome.
Shouldn't tell people. Brian Kruger is bootlegging movies. FBI, if you're listening to this. He's just bad like that, and it's like some really bad filmed version that somebody did in Japan, like when they were in the theater. And we were talking about, and I said, Don asked about a lesson from these movies. And I was thinking about the plot of Rise of Skywalker, and an important thing I want men who watch these movies to understand is that chicks always go for the bad boy. You can be Finn, you can be the nice guy stormtrooper who decides he's going to be a good guy and say, I'm worried about my friend, he really wants to hook up with her. Or you could be Kylo Ren, and you could like kidnap her, turn her to the dark side, do all these things.
Try to kill her.
A few times, more than once. Menace her, show up in her dreams, and, she can call you a monster, but at the end of the day, she's going to, like, see the soft side of you and want to make out with you.
Right. Then poor Finn, in love with Rey. The whole movie he wants to tell her, never comes out. That's never going to happen.
But he's a nice guy, and she wants Kylo Ren. Okay, but here's the caveat to that. Okay, you can't be totally evil. You can't be the Emperor. You've got to be Kylo Ren. You've got to be Ben Solo. You've got to be this sensitive thing, and you've just turned to the dark side because of whatever, and she has to feel that she can redeem you. This is like the plot of, by the way, every romance novel.
Oh yeah.
On the you go to Walgreens and the romance novels. That's what they're all about. He's like this stoic, like, manly man who's just distant for whatever reason. His family was like these epic freedom fighters, and he feels ousted, and so he has to be like his grandfather, the Dark Lord of the Sith. But he's really good on the inside. You need to be complicated and kind of bad boys may be the wrong word, but be your own man. Be who you want to be, and call her out on her shit, and don't worry about being a nice guy, because that guy ends up being Finn, and he doesn't get the girl.
The lessons are in the movie.
The lessons are in the movie. Now, granted, if you go too far, if you stab your father with a lightsaber, if you wipe out planets, then even if you are redeemed, you have to die at the end.
Yeah.
So know that.
Yep.
That's a law of storytelling.
Yep.
So it's kind of like Vader, in Return of the Jedi. He was redeemed, but he had done too much naughtiness, so he kind of had to die.
Yeah. Well, a classic case of girl meets boy, boy kills girl, girl gets brought back to life, then boy brings girl back to life and then dies. It's classic
Hollywood stuff. So, yes, just bear that in mind as we move forward. Don't be Finn, be Kylo Ren, but do it right. Otherwise, you just end up being super evil. So
we could go, but what we'll touch on later in the podcast is just expectations, about managing expectations, and what is your 9-part Star Wars nineology, whatever they would call 9 parts. And are you nailing it? Are you getting every part right? Or are you just human, like the script writers and like the directors and like George Lucas
and the characters themselves
that maybe everything doesn't always work out perfectly, but you are still going to try. And nobody sits there. There aren't chat rooms about you and your life and all the goals you had for yourself. And then when you take a misstep or you just blow off your responsibilities, there aren't chat rooms, and there isn't Twitter analyzing your life and jumping all down your throat and appearing on talk shows.
Right.
And so take a step back. So think about it. Are you perfect? Because we're expecting perfection of these movies, and they haven't been perfect.
Right. Well, and you know what? I think perfection's an idea that we have in our heads. What the hell is perfect? Everybody's got their own idea of what that can be.
Right.
These filmmakers know it's like, okay, there's never going to be a point where we've pleased everyone.
Right.
If some people, and J.J. Abrams said that. He says, I know that some people are going to be delighted, others are going to be enraged. There's nothing I can do about that. And he's right.
Yep. So we can move on from Star Wars.
Absolutely. But that's a good point about life.
Like a transition.
Yes.
What are your expectations? How perfect is something supposed to be?
Yes. Don, you get some interesting notes here. I'm moving on. The decade in review, you talk about the year 2000, eHarmony.
Or 2010, was it? 2000 was eHarmony. That's 20 years ago.
20 years ago. The internet brought us eHarmony to find our soulmate, to find the person we were meant to be with. In 2012, we got Tinder.
Yes.
Swipe right, swipe left,
dating
find someone to hook
apps.
up with. Most of the young people I know today, like young, are using Tinder.
Yeah. eHarmony, it was like you had to go online, make a profile, like background check, like wonderful. And by 2012, this is in the last 10 years, Tinder. It takes you about a minute and a half, set up your profile, snap a selfie, and you're dating. Or not dating. You're just judging.
I mean, you're hooking up. You're judging,
exactly.
And you're maybe hooking up.
And it became so popular, then Bumble, and now there's a dozen other
Bumble's an
similar,
interesting one. Yeah. I kind of like the Bumble concept. Bumble is the concept with Bumble. It's similar to Tinder, except that the women have to initiate contact. Yeah, that's the thing with Bumble.
A little safer.
Yeah, it's a little safer, and the cool thing, there was a story in the news about Bumble. Sharon Stone, my wet dream from my preteen years in the 80s, got kicked off of Bumble recently because her profile got reported because nobody actually believed it was Sharon Stone. They thought it was somebody impersonating her. Because then nobody could believe that Sharon Stone would be on Bumble.
She would actually be on there?
Yeah, she contacted them and got it straightened out, but it was like this whole, I should have, Jesus, I'm hitting my microphone. But nobody believed it could be her. And so, and there was this funny story. I put it in the Alpha Shift in the Facebook group, because I was just like, oh my God. And it's, what that said, and they got it straightened out, and Sharon's great and everything, but like this woman was every man's like fantasy in 1990 or whatever when Basic Instinct came out.
Yep.
And now she's on Bumble. Dude. That kind of freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah.
That Sharon has to be on Bumble. It's like, and it's like...
Well, actually, this goes to something that you posted something in the Alpha Shift, and it was a video, and you told people to watch it, and I think he was talking about Charlize Theron, and that she says, guys are intimidated by me. They just won't ask me out. Right. And I wonder if Sharon Stone's kind of going through that same thing. Like, I'm Sharon Stone, damn it. I can't get a date.
Right.
So she goes on Bumble.
Right.
And I know that what you posted was pretty harsh on that, but I think at the same time...
The guy's tone was harsh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think, I guess, what I try to tell my kid, or my son, is that if you just, don't be afraid. Don't put predetermination in a girl that you're about to ask out, which we all have done. Depending on where you were in the social class in high school, we have expectations, and it's like, I won't even ask her because I know the answer will be no, and then everyone in the whole school will laugh at me for asking her out. And so I just wonder, I would love to almost talk to Sharon Stone. It's like, is it because it's just like no one will actually ask you out for a cup of coffee like normal people because you are Sharon Stone?
Part of it. I mean, like random dudes maybe, but let me tell you something. And about the Charlize Theron article, the thing is, and what I would talk to women about, and I know guys, men and women, who are relationship coaches who deal specifically with women. I deal specifically with men because I'm a man. I've dealt with the man's problems. That's what I know the most. It's not that I, think that men are any more deserving of it. It's just that's who I feel I can best serve. But I've got a friend. He and his wife are relationship coaches. They're in L.A., and he really serves women, especially out there, because there are a lot of beautiful women on the West Coast who can't find dates. And what he teaches them to do is kind of find their feminine essence again. Because what a lot of women don't know is that today, women they're accomplishing more, they're doing everything they want to do, and they're really taking this kind of leadership, almost a masculine energy. And men, it's not the most attractive thing to men. We don't want competitors. We don't want someone who's going to be. We don't want a dominance struggle.
Okay.
And what men are most attracted to, and I've done a lot of work on this because I wanted to know what was going on wrong in my life. The polarities, the masculine and the feminine energy. A masculine energy, all men have some form of masculine energy.
The machismo? Is that
not machismo.
Okay.
Not machismo.
Right.
Not machismo. Masculine energy is sort of stoic, and we create. We go within ourselves. Men, have a nothing box in their mind. When they're recharging the batteries. That's why a lot of guys come home from work. They want to sit and watch TV and not be bothered by the family or the wife. That's not necessarily me, but a lot of guys, they're like that. They want to get into that nothing box. And then they need to create, and they define themselves by what they create. And, what you get from a woman is women they excel at nurturing and being nurturing, having that open feminine essence. And that's what men respond to. That's what men want to serve. That's what men want to uplift. That's what inspires men. And, a great book I would suggest everyone read. It's called The Way of the Superior Man by David Data. And for women, by David Data, you could read Dear Lover. It's much of the same material, but it's geared toward a woman. And it really explains to a woman in the way she can understand what a man really responds to, energetically, physically, emotionally. And this is what I'm getting at. It's not about like women shouldn't be running companies or anything. It's do what you want to do, but understand that there's a reason that Charlize Theron can't get a date, and she's beautiful. She's our age, and she's drop dead gorgeous.
Oh no! If you were carving a sculpture of what I
mean, she's gorgeous, and so there's no like physical. There's no outward reason that this woman shouldn't be lavish with attention. But I'm sure that Charlize is probably, is a successful Hollywood actress, and I'm sure she's probably full of head of piss and vinegar. And Nobody wants that. They want, the three things, the three concepts that I have learned and I know I've learned to be true that are the most attractive in women are the youth, beauty, and femininity. These are the things that the highest value women do to nab women and nab men. This is why the hot little 25-year-old is with the rich guy with the yacht who's 60 years old. I mean, this is what's and of course with men, it's purpose, accomplishment, and basically the ability to provide. So a million years ago, that ability to provide was having the biggest muscles and being able to club animals and feed the family, or to fight off other men who might otherwise want to take your stuff.
I mean, yes,
I'm oversimplifying all of this. Yeah. I'm really oversimplifying.
Yeah.
But just to get a basic framework from where I'm coming here, and like my friend Andre, he's always coaching women to find their femininity again, to stop trying to take control from men. Let him decide where we're going on the date. Let him drive and support, and you will be taken care of. It doesn't mean that you're less than. Find your queen, and he'll find his king. This is the theme that he and his wife are teaching. They have seminars going on out there and that sort of thing. And so, I'm always trying to teach men with the alpha shift. Find your purpose. Find your masculinity. Find your inner, this is going to sound like Kylo Ren, don't be accountable to anyone else.
Right.
And find that, don't have a red lightsaber and kill people.
Right.
But find
But he had his purpose. He wanted to rule the galaxy.
He wanted to rule the galaxy.
And that was it. He wanted he wanted to kill his Sith master. He wanted to be the king of all Jedi and all Sith. So I guess
I would suggest that you find a more constructive purpose in your life, but have that. Pursue that.
Well, I mean, if you can do that, because so far it's like, Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos have already done it down here. So the world, that's it. They got it under wraps. So you might want to look to the galaxy. That would be the next step. Because I sometimes think I want to invent the next Amazon.
Yeah.
But it was already invented. I can't, another website that sells everything that you can even dream of that exists.
I don't even know how to think up things like Amazon.
Right.
But if I can do something that affects a lot of people's lives in a positive way and creates a legacy, I'm good with that. That would make me feel like I've lived a fulfilled, purposeful life. And the next, when I bring on, and I know that there will come a time when I will have another great love of my life. I'm not going to be retired from relationships forever, guys. But it'll be someone who, really supports that mission, can get on board with it, and, and will really respect that, and who's, because most women, they don't want a man that doesn't have anything bigger going in his life than her. They really want someone with purpose, someone that otherwise they're going to start wandering and meandering. My last girlfriend did that. I was kind of in a stagnant place in my life, and she ended up wandering off to this, that, and the other thing. She's still wandering all over the West Coast.
Okay.
And still to this day. And
well, that could be a symptom of she didn't know what she wanted.
Yeah, it's true.
And we've talked about this before. Did you change? Did you lose that spark? Or, remember, you talk about what women want, but women individually, they, like all of us, like you and I, very different backgrounds, very different spots in our 46-year-old worlds, where we are. Yeah. And if she didn't know what she wanted, then, it's certainly, you can't look like, oh, what could have I done differently? Right. If you were just being Dave, just like every day, I am Don. And for the 22 years, it has worked for my wife. She seems to dig me. Yeah. My kids,
even after 22 years.
Yeah, my teenage daughter, I would say 60%.
You know how many women I've been through in 22 years, Don? Shit.
We'll have a different podcast.
We'll have a different podcast about that.
Over beers, let me.
Over beer, yeah, right.
Well, share a little bit of those nuggets.
Yeah, share a little bit of those. Yeah, it's been a few, and I really think though that a part of that is vibration and intention. You mentioned here in our show notes about New Year's resolutions, and what are your comments on New Year's resolutions?
I mean,
before I give you my comments,
I love New Year's resolutions, and I think, again, back to trolls and haters. Some people are like, oh, why do you start something on January 1st? Why do you wait until your 30th birthday?
You're just going to do it until February, and then you're going to give it up.
Right, and I don't see it that way, because why not take a moment in time, call it January 1st, for me today was January 2nd, and just start something new. Yes. Feel refreshed. And it doesn't matter. It could happen on January 17th.
Yeah.
You've missed all your New Year's resolutions and like, you know what? I'm still eating like crap. I still feel like crap. I'm not sleeping. I'm watching way too many movies. I'm staying up too late. My new resolution is going to be go to bed at a decent time and kind of set that calendar because, I talk about one of the things that happened in this last 10 years, for men is that anything we want to solve, all the knowledge of the world is at our fingertips.
Yes.
And in fact, if you even think about what the phone was 10 years ago and now it is a little microcomputer, every answer. So I love New Year's resolutions.
Okay.
I love starting new things, making new habits. And in fact, I started it last year and I failed, but I'm going to start it again. It's something I call resolution a day.
Okay.
Every day, I'm going to make a new resolution and start a habit.
Okay.
And that now don't think that's okay. You're going to, that's overwhelming.
I mean, it's overwhelming. I'm just like, because.
And there's a book. I was going to bring it and show the camera. It's one of these things like accomplish 365 things in a year. Wow. But it's just the simple things like I don't floss every day. Some people do a great job of that.
I floss 3 times a day every day.
I remember you from college. Yeah. You told me, oh my God, if I don't floss, I feel like I've got dirty underwear.
Yeah, I'm like
that was your quote. That was your quote. You couldn't, yes. But I don't. So if I could just add that every day.
Floss.
All right. I got this medication I'm supposed to paint on my toenails and gross.
Okay.
Sorry, everyone.
No, I've never heard of such a thing. Okay.
I'm supposed to do it every day, and they'll clear up in 90 days. But guess what? I don't do it every day. So now,
do it every day, Don.
Starting January 3rd, I'm going to floss every day on January 2nd.
Okay.
I'm going to do that. Take the medicine I should on January 3rd. I'm going to have an 8-ounce glass of water every morning when I wake up. Starting January 4th.
So you are applying the Kaizen principle to
resolutions. The Kaizen. We've talked about that.
Yes, you are applying the Kaizen.
A resolution a day. So on the 5th, you can make a resolution like.
But it's not crazy shit. It's like one little thing that you can add every day. Okay.
Once a day, I'm going to text someone,
1%.
text or call someone that I haven't talked to in more than 30 days. And how easy is that?
So it's very easy. You just got to get yourself to do it.
I have an uncle in Boston, great guy. I see him on Facebook. He sees me. We comment on everything. What if I just texted him a message? Hey, thinking of you. How are your grandkids? Nice. Okay, so that's an easy resolution. And then the next day, I'm going to scroll because I got time. We know we all have time built into our day because we're scrolling on our phone. So I'm going to scroll and find somebody else. Here's my cousin. Oh my gosh, I haven't talked to my cousin in a million years. I'm just going to text him and say, hey, what's going on? Doesn't mean I have to get together with him. I'm not going to plan a big party, but it's like a simple resolution.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I would add, what I did for what I like to do every New Year's Eve and New Year's Day is, unless I'm out partying, and I wasn't this year, I was at a quiet night at home, I sit and I journal. I did my year in review on New Year's Eve.
Yep.
And it was like 6 handwritten long pages in my journal about everything I had accomplished and everything that had shifted, and it was so much more than I realized. And I set my intention for the new year. I have some very specific personal, business, and financial goals, and those are my goals. They're personal, business, and financial.
Yep.
And about really where I want to see my life move to, and some of the ways that I want to evolve personally, spiritually. And I laid it all out, and because I set that intention, everything that I now do must serve those intentions. Mm-hmm. Is it serving my calling, or is it a waste of damn time?
Right.
And so it's like that's kind of my take on that, and the way I try to. And I love New Year's resolutions. I love the change of the year because it gets our minds on where have we come from, where are we going to, and it's good to review that.
Yeah, and if you
more than just at the new year, but at least at the new year is when you do it.
And if anybody listening stops and thinks about their life and the things that are going well in their life, at some point that was a resolution.
Yes.
So if you have lost weight and you're feeling really great, there was some point. It may not have been on a January 1st type of moment,
sure,
but there was a moment where you were like, I can't do that. I can't do this anymore. I am drinking too much. I cannot keep smoking, waking up with this cough. I'm going to quit. So you made a resolution. We do this all the time.
Yeah.
I got to find a new job. Boom. You just made a resolution.
Well, and I think the important thing, too, is to recognize when you've done that and accomplished it.
Yep.
So that's something that I sometimes fall short on, is acknowledging what I've already done and seeing, oh, wow, wait, I wanted to do that and I did it. I wanted to do that and I did it. And, acknowledge that you're accomplishing things.
Oh, yeah.
That you're actually getting things done and you're setting resolutions, you're setting intentions and they're coming true. So that's, yes. And
it's easy to dwell on the negative. And
yes.
somewhere I said, can I read this quote that I found?
By all means.
I should have sourced it. There are so many reasons for not having a positive mindset. We fail at something. We don't achieve what we set out to do. We don't get what we expected we would. We experience a loss. We get exhausted from our work and school responsibilities, and then our inner critic takes over. We start telling ourselves, why did you think you were better? Why do you think you deserve that? Why can't you even do one simple thing right? You're incapable. You shouldn't expect things to go right. You don't deserve success. Mm-hmm. And that's how, so quickly, when one failure, like the day I don't floss, I'm like, screw it. That's it. I failed. I was going to do this every day. It's going to be my new thing.
Right.
Well, why can't, in that moment, just floss, or just the next day, floss.
Yeah, recommit to it.
Right.
Just don't ever give up. You are going to fail multiple times. You are going to set an intention, a resolution. You're going to fail. You're going to screw up. You're going to miss it. Just don't give up.
Yeah. But New Year's resolutions is what I'm talking about, and then New Year's intentions. New decade intentions. And we did just start a new decade. And a lot of people are saying that this is going to be a decade of change.
I'm always keeping my finger on the pulse of the spiritual community. And it's like, this is the big shift where human consciousness changes. We'll see. But I do see some things changing. And I do see, I'm seeing more and more people who can't work the 9-to-5 job, who have to really find a purpose and drive in their life. I'm seeing this more and more. And so I'm seeing good things. And, the real change always comes out of regular people like you and me. It's never going to come from the government or leadership or things like that.
Yep.
So when we say things like, things are changing for the better, and maybe you hate Donald Trump or you hate some things that are going on, don't worry about any of that. Okay, it's not about that. It's about us.
Right.
It's about the changes that everyday people are making. Because the reason that we're in kind of an interesting situation, I'd say, is because the way everyday people are, let themselves get polarized against each other, and so that's just playing out right now.
Oh yeah, we're letting ourselves be pulled to a side.
Yes.
You have to pick a side. Like, okay, no, you do not. Like, that could be a big change right there.
You know what?
And the fact that I will not engage in this argument where, you, sir, are right wing, I am left wing, so you must believe every single thing over there on the right, and I will believe everything over here on the left.
And of course, I must thwart you because you're wrong.
Right, and we will never cross.
Right,
no matter what. And that could be a huge change. I hope it changes like that in the next decade. Is that there is a growing middle that just says to the extremes, no, that's too much. You're too much over there. You're too much over there. This is what normal, everyday people look like, talk like, how they interact with each other. They hold doors for each other. They smile. They consider other people's viewpoints. And, I'm a dreamer. This utopian society of just, patience, understanding, looking at things from other perspectives. If you could do that, if that could be your intentions for the next decade or even this year, you'll have a good year.
I can tell you on a personal level, and I'm just going to, I'm always talking about, improving yourself. The Alpha Shift is based on improving yourself. I'm always talking about the resources I'm using to go deeper and to really, get rid of negative energy and to become empowered. I drifted away from that for a period in my life for a number of reasons, and around 2016, I was a little bit kind of isolated and alone in my life. I had drifted away from some of the good friends and associates that I had done so much work with, and my girlfriend at the time and I were living together, and everything was fine, but it was just my own little life, and started getting sucked into the news cycles, and then the election year came around, and for those of you who were there, which is most of you, that was like one of the worst years in American history. I mean, we're
talking 2016.
16.
Okay.
Yes, the election, and yes, I've always been a lifelong. I'll out myself as a Republican, and not that I'm so entrenched in everything that is Republican. That's like Don said, you're all of that. No, I'm not by any means. But the scariest thing in my world at that time was Hillary Rodham Clinton. She was going to destroy the United States. She was a horrible criminal, and we had to stop her by any means, even with Donald Trump.
You did.
And,
you went both feet in.
Both feet in, and I alienated people. I'm pretty sure that like that turned my girlfriend off to like the point of like the end of like it ended.
Okay.
A couple of years later, it was over.
That would do it.
Yeah, and it was.
If I wanted to get a divorce, I know what side of the political equation I could pick. Jump in both feet and never give up.
Never give up.
And I would be.
And a lot of people, there were divorces that took place like immediately.
Oh yeah.
It was.
We could do that on the Alpha Show podcast. Chronicle Don's slow divorce over politics.
Yes. I mean, it was one of the darkest periods of my life, and I was fighting with it was just the most unbelievable, horrible thing. And I've come a long way since then, and now here we go into 2020, the next election year. I will not be participating. I will be a support for anyone who's like traumatized. I will be an example for rising above this nonsense and for bringing people together. And I always will now for the rest of my life. That year was a tremendously powerful lesson for me. And really what it was me letting my eye off the ball. I knew better than to get sucked into that crap, and I just did.
Right. Well, it's easy to do.
Yeah.
And the people that are dragging us to one side or the other are very good at what they do.
They are very good at
They're very good at whatever side you pick, they're able to just, well, if you don't like the new Star Wars, then you are fill in the blank.
Yeah, right.
You're a fool. You're un-American. Star Wars is American, and if you don't like it, then you don't like this country. And then you say that enough times, like, oh my gosh, that's right. How could you not like Star Wars? It's American film. George Lucas is an American hero. All these stars, they're amazing. And like, so you pick a side. Yeah. Like, I'm going to go on the side. Could it be that I can like parts of the new Star Wars and not like parts of the new Star Wars, and the same with politics? I know, it's the middle. In fact, there was years ago I wanted to have a podcast and a website called The Fence.
Ooh, I like that.
And it was like no matter who called, I'd be like, I'm on the fence.
I'm on the fence.
Yep, and you could just call. I get angry, and I would call out both sides.
Yeah.
Like if I would be on there, I'd be that like, no. That's awful, and that's awful.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't matter if you're right, you're left. And
I mean, I've got a lot of friends.
But it's good. 2016, it showed you what all in.
It showed me what it does, because I needed that perspective so I can be a space for other people. Right. You know what? I know.
And there's a you on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, I've got friends who vote Democrat, and all of them are good people who want the best for everyone, and they're not these horrible people that like I get that, I know that, and it's like, and so you have to separate the people who like vote a certain way between the leadership in those parties and the way they because there's stuff going on up there. You can't that's not all Americans. And so always when it comes to your fellow American, when it comes to the guy down the street, always be focused on unity and seeing eye to eye. We might have to like throw the government out at some point, but that's another story. We might have all of them. But like when it comes to everyday Americans, like your neighbors and stuff like that, do not do that.
And I think we talked, but that's not what the Alpha Shift is going to be in 2020. It's not. We're not going to dwell on politics. We're not going to dwell on the quality of science fiction movies. We're going to dwell on the quality of all of our listeners' lives. We're using this year as a personal experiment, and we are glad that you're here. Our listenership is growing a little bit every week.
And we really want to serve. And look, there's a lot of things that are going on. When you look at the world as it is, like, oh crap, there's this going on, there's that going on, there's this statistic. I brought statistics to share with. I don't even know if we'll get to them. We'll do it next week if we can't get to them. But the reason I point stuff out, and I'm not one of these like doom and gloom, and because there's plenty of, you can find YouTube channels, you can find podcasts. The MGTOW guys, the red pill guys, who are all disavowing women, and this is all bad, and this is how it is, man. Look at the world as it. Look, you can create anything you want to create in your life, but you have to stop looking at what is in front of your face, because that's just the result of what you created thus far.
Yep.
That's what people don't get. That's the thing. That's what I kind of can't. I kind of can't just leave this stuff out. It's like the truth is, everything I've been trained, is like you can create with your expectation and with your mind the things that you want. The way it works is you start to think about the way you want. You start to get the feeling of what you want. You see it in your mind. Then, when that's firmly in place, you start to take the actions to create it.
Yep.
And it's a process. And what most people do is they look at what they see in front of them, and they just keep responding to that. They keep making it more and more real. They become more and more polarized politically. They become more polarized socially. They become more polarized in their personal relationships, end up getting divorced, whatever that is. And they don't think that they can turn the tide. They just look at what is and they feel like they're an effect of it.
Right. It's this victim thing.
A victim, yes. Yeah. Yes, it's this subtle victim mentality.
I had no control.
It's not my fault. It's because she's an asshole.
Right.
Because these people are the way they are.
Right. But you're right. You're reacting with anger. But imagine if you just reacted a little bit different way.
Yeah.
At some point, and I know it can snowball. It can get bad. But the first sign of something bad, you have a decision to make. Yeah. Hey, am I just gonna?
And you can acknowledge if somebody's behaving badly. It's hey, they're behaving badly. I'm not going to associate with them. I'm going to go over here and do this thing.
Right. But you have to remember, certainly if we're going to talk a relationship, there was a point that you were fully and totally in love.
Yes.
You couldn't wait to talk to this person. When I started dating my wife, and then for years, that was who. Anything cool happened, anything funny happened. I'm going to share it with Kathy.
Yes.
And it has just gone. So now, of course, 22 years of marriage, 16 kids, there's nothing new I can share with her, or is there?
Plenty.
Because I'm doing a podcast. I'm going to go home and I'm going to tell her what we talked about on the podcast, and I want to include her. And what do you think of this?
We should bring her in for an episode.
And will you? Oh my gosh.
We should bring her in one night.
Then you'd fire me. Then I'd be out of here.
I know that she'd be like, Don, I got a new host. Right. Yeah, she'd take your job.
Or she'd love that. Women are nurturing, and women.
I'd be like, Don, I think I want Kathy to be the co-host now. Sorry. No, it's okay. We would. Kathy and I would talk about it. We'd let you come in once in a while. But for real though, we should have her come in one night. But yeah, and it's I can tell you that relationships, whether they survive or whether they don't, isn't divine providence. It isn't luck. It's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a choice that you make, and it's a choice that both people have to make. If one of you is making the choice that yes, we're going to make this happen and fight for this, and the other one's making the choice, fuck it, I'm off over here. I've been in that situation.
Right.
And so it really is just a matter of two people deciding to make an empowering choice. And they can do anything they want to do. That's what I mean about creating what you want to create. You can have a marriage that's falling apart. You can have two people who aren't seeing each other, they're fighting, they're emotionally distant, and it's just a rough place to be around the house. But if they could find a way that both of them could decide that this relationship is worth saving and they're all in and they're going to save it, nothing can stop them.
Right.
The reason that most divorces happen is because one or two of them just won't make that choice.
Right. Or isn't it because they treat the other one like an enemy?
Oh, sure. Because when you won't make that choice, believe me, you are treating the other one like an enemy.
People can fall out of love.
Oh, you will. Believe me,
and
you will.
And you can have that hard conversation and be an adult about it and say, this is very hard, but I just don't love you like I used to love you, and I don't want to hurt you, and I don't want to lie to you, which is what I would do every day if I was pretending to be happy.
Yeah, that's a hard conversation.
And we've talked about that before. But that's a real grown-up conversation. You talk about respect for other people. If two people in a bad relationship would just treat each other like that and not that's my enemy, I hate that person, and I'm going to be rude, I'm going to say mean things, I'm going to hurt their feelings. I wouldn't treat you like that.
Right, of course.
I'm not going to just say crap to you just to hurt your feelings. No. But what happens when people in the loving relationships, they get to that point and it becomes ugly.
It becomes ugly.
And it's a choice, who's ever being the meanest, it's a choice that person made.
Absolutely.
And you talk about you have the choice to make it. It can be a failing marriage, but it doesn't have to be ugly.
It doesn't have to, no.
Terribly hurtful, and then bitterness walk away. And I have friends that have healthy divorces.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it went.
That's another way it can go. Yeah,
right.
It doesn't necessarily always have to stay together, but
it's about choosing your reality.
It's about choosing your reality. Look, much of being in love, not in love, is pheromonal. It's like when you fall in love, the first couple of years, the sex pheromones are fucking going. It's like your pheromones, her pheromones. Let's make babies, baby. And it's just like, yeah. And but naturally that subsides after time. And so the feelings, at least the outer emotions, kind of shift and change, and that's where it becomes really important to develop to develop a bond, to develop good habits with each other, to develop a good way of being together and cultivating that relationship. And it's not hard at all to, as you said, fall out of love. To not have that feeling. It's going to come and go. And believe me, when you're in a lifelong relationship that goes for decades, it's that in love feeling will ebb and flow. And when both of you know that that's normal, and know that by focusing on the good in each other, choosing to focus on the good in each other, and not just giving yourself an easy out, that it will, the in love feeling comes back in a different way, in a deeper way, in a more loving way, that no one can get to unless they go through that wall of fire. Then you can get to those deeper levels of love. And we unfortunately have this tendency now with and this is men and women, we have this easy out. It's easy to get a divorce. It's easy to walk away. It's easy to have the attitude, well, I can just do better elsewhere. That's not necessarily in everyone's best interest.
Right.
And that's a tendency that exists today.
Well, we've made change very easy. People change jobs.
We've made divorce very easy.
Yeah, and we change jobs very easily.
Yep.
No one has a car longer than 3 years anymore.
Right.
We're in a lease our car society, and I just don't see old cars on the road. Every change is so easy.
And a lot of people aren't getting married anymore. They're
Right.
doing they're just living together. They're doing partnerships, and it's very easy to break those relationships up. There's no difficulty in it.
Right.
And so and we're living these limited liability lifestyles, I like to call it.
Yep.
And
marriage is the only thing that is like that. It's like it's a 24/7 thing. I mean, you're maybe apart when you're at work, but you can't just I'm gonna take a break. You're in it. You got to make it work. You've got to keep trying, keep talking, keep respecting each other, and that you don't have to. You and I see each other once a week.
I know.
We don't have enough time together to
Right.
get in any big fights or major disagreements. And if
Yeah.
we did, I just got to get through this hour and a half and a couple text messages. We're going to be on. But relationships are not that way.
No, relationships are not that way. That person is going to bring forth everything within you, light and dark, out to be seen. And Kathy is your greatest mirror, and you are hers. And everyone who's
That's a
married,
good way to put it.
Yeah, and that it really is. And I like to forever be the optimist. I like to think that traditional marriage, is going to make a comeback one day, but in a different way. It's going to come from a place of men and women being aware of the interplay between masculine and feminine energy, and men and women knowing what each really wants to get out of the relationship and what they're willing to bring to it and provide, from a much more conscious place. There's a lot of talk about human consciousness and people becoming more conscious. I think that could be just a wonderful thing for intimate relationships.
Right.
When you're not coming to it to get a need met that you can't get met anywhere else. That's unhealthy. That's codependent. But when you can love yourself, that's what the alpha shift. That's what I want to do with the alpha shift, is teach guys how to give themselves that validation and that power, so that when they come to their relationships, they're coming as a full, powerful man who's got a full suite of tools to provide.
Right.
And they're like, hey, look how great I got my tool belt, baby.
But he can do that in the modern world. I think we started off somewhere in there talking about Charlize Theron and Sharon Stone, and think of the reality. Okay, if we go back to the stereotypical 50s and 60s marriage, it was the man worked, the women, they had their roles.
Yes.
Certainly, if you were to date Charlize Theron or Sharon Stone, those roles are out the window.
Right.
They don't want it. They're not going to. That's not what their lives are. That's not who you would be falling in love with.
There's no way Charlize Theron needs me to support her.
Right. Yeah. In fact, no anyone who dates her, unless it's a more handsome, more famous person, is going to be behind the scenes, because that's what she does for a living. That is her job.
The only hope for Charlize Theron, for Sharon Stone, and all of is higher consciousness. Men and women who are at a higher level. Where they don't need that kind of validation. Where Charlize needs a guy who's totally self-validated. Will call her on her shit. Will stand strong in his masculinity, even if he makes a tenth of what she makes.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what she and that's a little bit in short supply right now. Sorry, Charlize, I'm working on it. We got to get more guys following the Alpha Shift. I'll be in touch.
Yeah.
But
and not jealous.
Yeah, and not jealous.
That's
what I mean by standing in his own personal power and not needing validation.
Right.
You know?
I mean, can you imagine? I mean, you know, if you're dating her, if you're married to her, every room she walks into, everybody wants a piece of her.
Maybe that should be an experiment. I should call her.
They want to look at her. Like, why wouldn't you?
Should I call her and ask her out?
I think you should ask her.
I should ask Charlie. Dude, what if? Oh man.
I think that should be just a little project.
A little project for this year. I'll ask.
I think she is our age.
Yeah, she's like 43 or something.
Her quote was, "I'm totally available."
Totally available.
And you could say, "I'm totally available too."
Why don't we just go get a drink on Sunset?
Yeah.
Talk and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe I should do that. Ask Charlie's down out.
We'll report back on the Alpha Shift.
Report back on the Alpha Shift. Okay, we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah. If her publicist will let you talk about it on the public.
Yeah, right.
The Alpha Shift.
God, what if we could get her on here? We're like making out. Her and I are like, you know. Don's like, okay, I'm just going to talk because that's just being weird.
Well, then I would have my own show. I mean, I'd have my own hour of show.
Me and Charlie just hanging out. Oh, man.
Just push you off camera.
Yeah, I'm just getting out of control here.
So we're reeling. Okay, so what are we going to do? So we're getting near the end here.
Near the end here. I know.
We're talking about the year ahead.
We've got so much material that we didn't even get to. Maybe we'll talk. But yeah, the year ahead. I had, and I will just summarize for you, a whole lot of statistics and articles. And they basically outlined some of the trouble that men are in at the moment, you know, if we're looking at the current reality that exists. And I'm going to acknowledge it for you guys, just so you know that it's real. We've got, you know, male suicides are up. Men are falling behind in many areas. And we don't have time to go into it tonight. And you can actually go out and do your own research. You can find YouTube videos. You can find articles on Google, all talking about the higher male suicide rates. The low men are graduating from college, like a third less than women, and a lot of women are now, at marriage age, are finding themselves in a dearth, a limit. There's not a lot of marriage.
So more men are committing suicide now than ever before.
More men are dropping out of. More men are unemployed. All of these statistics are true. They're basically falling behind. And you may be listening to this, and you may be one of these guys, and you feel you're a little lost. And what we want to do here with the Alpha Shift is help you find your way. Help you find your purpose. I made a promise on the last episode, which I haven't gotten up yet as we're recording this episode. I will get them both up in the next week, that I'm going to create, Don, I promised them last week, I'm going to create a resource page on the Alpha Shift. And honestly, the top of the resource page is going to be the National Suicide Prevention Hotline.
Okay.
I mean, because I did an episode last week, and I had some guys who wrote in with questions, and 2 or 3 of them were, how do I get over this depression I'm in? This is guys who were actually listening to the show.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to give resources on how to deal with that, some audios to listen to, some things to look at, some practices. I'm really going to put some time into this and creating a resource page. I'll send it to you too.
Okay.
And we can add to it over time.
And that's what I think would make this a great year for the Alpha Shift podcast.
Yes.
Is that if you knew once a week, you're going to be able to just, listen in, tune to us for an hour.
Yes.
You can interact with us via social media in a million different ways.
And I want to start asking. That's another thing I forgot to mention to you. I want to start asking you guys for more interaction. If you're watching this video on Facebook or on YouTube, give us a like, give us a comment, let us know what you think. If you're listening to this on iTunes, give us a rating.
Yeah,
give us a comment.
Maybe it's not you who are dealing with depression, but you have a brother, you have a friend. Yeah. I mean, let's talk about that.
And I want to help you get your goals met. I want to help you, find what you're looking for. And I want you to understand it's a process. This is something I've learned in my life. I really, I get motivated and I want to turn things around by Friday at 5 p.m. and have the money that I want, have the love that I want, have the life that I want. It's a process. And you have to enjoy the process. And so it's a matter of...
I mean, I've been dieting for 24 hours and I haven't lost a weight.
I know.
I haven't lost
24 hours and he's still,
Bullshit. I'm not dieting anymore. It's bullshit.
And we forget that. So, we want to get you on a process and support you on the process. And we all support each other. I might need help, and sometimes I'm going to come on the podcast and be like, "This is what I got going on this week," and just make everybody listen to my problems.
Okay, that'll be a good episode.
Yeah, that'll be a good episode. And
then we want to celebrate our listeners when good things happen to them. We want to hear.
Yes, please tell us. Yes,
because that's going to snowball. That's going to build momentum. That's
going to build a lot of momentum.
We're going to tell you. I mean, we have the microphones.
I want to encourage a lot more listener interaction.
Yes, we're going to tell you good things that happened to us and with the Alpha Shift, but we would love to mention your name and something you did great, because you can do great things.
Yes.
And that's what we're all going to do together in 2020 and the next decade.
Look, the shit's out there, and you have to look at it and know the score so you're aware of what's going on, and then put your attention on what you want and what you want to create. Your life is really going to become what you put your attention on. So turn off Fox News, turn off CNN, turn off the video games, and really start focusing on what the hell you want.
Yeah.
Read good books. We're gonna have those on the resource page. I might actually shoot you an email and say, give me some input for the resource page.
Okay.
Some of the stuff you would want to put on there too.
Yep.
And
I mean, I did this thing, my kids were on break, and I said I'm going to watch a movie every night because I'm so far behind.
Sure.
And the two movies I picked, one of them was What the Health, if you've ever heard of that. And
I have.
Forks Over Knives on Netflix is super popular right now.
Yep.
And I'm feeding my mind with
good stuff,
fantastic ideas, and I know each of those has an agenda, but it's the idea, like you say, it'll be a resource page. So if you want to just think am I eating healthy enough? This is a perspective. Here's some great things. We'll vet them for you.
Absolutely, yes. And so this is going to be a bastion of positivity and building your life up to what you want it to be. And I hope that you're going to want to come here and hang out more often. So
and hang out. We got to do that this year.
Yeah,
we got to have an Alpha Shift happy hour, hang out, maybe a live podcast somewhere.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
that's a great idea.
See?
We could do.
So we're putting stuff out there. This is what our dreams, our intentions. This is a New Year's resolution for the Alpha Podcast. We're going to do a live event.
Maybe
at least one in 2020.
Maybe we could do our first one in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, we could do that.
I'll bring the equipment down.
Coming up in a month.
Yeah, coming up in a month. Well, we can do a Facebook Live, and we can do and record it as well. Get some of the guys on there.
Live from the beach.
Live from the beach. Yeah. All right. We'll plan on it. I'll bring the equipment. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
All right. We are out of time for tonight, but we will see you next week. I am Dave Kruger.
I'm Don Kowaleski.
We will see you next time. Thanks.
Can't wait.
We barely got to half our notes.